Scarborough, we are 1/4 of Toronto and we are as big as Brampton. But when it comes to innovation, when someone wants to build something in Scarborough, they have to travel all the way down to... We identify anchor partners' issues and then we try to incubate or try to nudge the companies to go and try to solve that problem.
Today, we are exploring the frontiers of local innovation. While the global tech spotlights often shines on traditional hubs, a new movement is rising in the East End, reshaping how we think about entrepreneurship, mentorship, and community-driven growth.
Focus on product market fit, ideally landing a client, and then all of your resources problem will get solved. At that point, investors will want to support you.
Welcome to Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Today, we are exploring the frontiers of local innovation. While the global tech spotlights often shines on traditional hubs, a new movement is rising in the East End, reshaping how we think about entrepreneurship, mentorship, and community-driven growth. Joining us today is Ajan Thiru, the founder and CEO of Scarboro Innovates. Ajan is a visionary leader who has turned global insights into local action, building a thriving network of creators and change makers. Launched in early 2026 this year, Scarboro Innovates is already making waves by bridging the gap between raw talent and commercial success through strategic partnerships and high-impact mentorships. So let's dive right in. Ajan, welcome to the Small Business Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well and thank you so much for hosting us.
It's always a pleasure and thank you so much for joining us from Scarborough during this peak traffic time. And then every year innovation, every great innovation, it starts with a why. And Scarborough Innovates has always, had a talent of full, but perhaps lacked this centralized engine to drive it forward. What was the specific spark or aha moment for you, that led you to start the Scarborough Innovates?
Actually, Scarborough, I don't know if you know about this, we are 1/4 of Toronto and we are as big as Brampton and as big as Markham. But when it comes to innovation, when someone wants to build something in Scarborough, they have to travel all the way down to downtown. So as a former board member at Scarborough Business Association, I identified it. One of the aha moment is a lot of younger next generation entrepreneurs kept on asking the same question. And then eventually they'll turn around and say, hey, where do I go to build this, right? So that's when we decided there has to be a platform and a movement should happen out of Scarborough. And that's the reason we started Scarboro Innovates.
Okay. So what are one of the core support service that you provide to the resident of Scarborough when it comes to innovation?
Yeah, so excellent question. Thank you for asking that. At Scarborough Innovates, what we decided to do is bring entrepreneurship, innovation, and community together. Unlike a lot of other innovation hub or accelerators, what we do is we validate their idea, and we have various government fundings available to build the product or services. And eventually what we will do is we identify a bunch of partners or within our ecosystem, a buyer per se, and we try to do the matching. So we pretty much help them from incubation all the way to commercialization.
Okay. It's always inspiring to see Anuj, people like you who is coming out with something creative and, working for the betterment of the community, right? So, and you also often speak about hacking shortcomings.
Yes.
Yeah. How is Scarborough Innovates taking perceived gaps in the local ecosystem and flipping them into unique strength?
Actually, it's an excellent question. So from my years of building various businesses, what I decided to do is anytime we have a shortcoming, instead of taking the long way, we always find strategic partners. So, for instance, as we decide to build Scarborough Innovates, we had a space problem. So space, as you know,
Which year was that?
about 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are fairly a new innovation hub. So we were left with one choice where we had to go raise funds and build out a facility. Or alternative was we went to one of the anchor partners, Centennial College, and there's a particular program called WinTech, which is run by Dr. Tyagi. She was gracious enough to actually say, hey, instead of building a space, why don't you kind of stay with us? And then they already have 3D printers, AI lab, different robotics lab. So we piggyback off of an existing system. And then even when it comes to advocacy, as a small team, we were able to go to Councillor Jamal Myers and ask him to pass a resolution. I don't know if you know about Scarborough. There is a civic center which is not utilized by a lot of people now that a lot of government employees are working from home. So what we asked them to do is, can you pass a motion to actually evaluate whether non-for-profits can use that space? And the idea behind it is very simple. All these government agencies have security, internet, and the whole facility is already paid for. So as long as we go and integrate with the city, we will have access to new programs, decision makers. So that's an innovative piece we are trying to achieve. And then the third piece where we were able to hit above our weight class, we went to different anchor institute from Toronto Zoo, Scarborough Health Network, and various other partners there. And we told them, as a startup, we will not be able to do any RFP because usually RFPs are reserved for larger clients. So Toronto Zoo, for instance, they were gracious enough to allow us to pilot with them, and they opened up the door. So if the product works, they will actually help us commercialize it into larger scale. So those are some of the key differentiators we are doing by hacking.
And as the saying goes, like innovation is not always creating new products or new services, like making the current products or services usable in a new way is very, very important. Now, like there are many accelerators out there. If you see, in downtown Toronto or Brampton, in Scarborough there might be more accelerators. How exactly is Scarborough Innovates, different from the rest of the pack in how you support your founders?
To answer your question, how we are different, when it comes to a lot of other incubators in the ecosystem, they tend to mainly focus on mentorship and guidance. When it comes to commercialization, they don't do too many things, if I may dare say that. Whereas we flip the script. So we identify anchor partners' issues, and then we try to incubate or try to nudge the companies to go and try to solve that problem. So that solves two problems. You already have a buyer, and then you will have a large-scale anchor buyer, so you can scale the business much faster. Along the way, as a startup who's working with large-scale anchors or even piloting, their credibility goes up. So that's where we are slightly different. We already have various we tapped into through our ecosystem partners, we tapped into various funding, and then also various anchor partners.
Okay. Do you have any recent example of a company where you help them, as you have mentioned just?
Oh, excellent. Yeah, so we have various examples. So I'll quickly, briefly talk about one company. It's called WowCall.
Okay.
So they actually do a lot of automated AI-based answering services. And Toronto Zoo actually had a challenge when it comes to answering services because a lot of people will ask particular questions. So what we were able to do is get WowCall to match with Toronto Zoo, and they're in the process of evaluating some of these AI-based answering services. And we tried it. It's excellent. You can talk about polar bear. You can ask about when is the lines going to be out, and then the AI engine will be able to answer. So those are some of the examples we are working with. And then there is another company who's already doing fairly well. They have tracking systems for Alzheimer patients. So they're already piloting with Scarborough Health Network, backed by TELUS Health. So those are the two success stories I can think of.
Thank you so much, Anish, for sharing your success stories. It's really it's inspiring for other entrepreneurs or companies to follow these. You have traveled extensively, observing how other countries innovates. What is one eye opener for you, like from all your travels and your experiences that you have implemented here in Ontario?
I would actually flip the question if I don't mind, or if you don't mind. So I would flip the question into this way: what is lacking in East versus West? Or West versus East. I've been to China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan.
Mm.
When they think about innovation and future, they don't have a short-term vision. They think about 20, 30 years. And especially when it comes to China, they were able to think about 20 to 30 years ahead, and they put community benefit before everything else. So part of that, the mindset switch, what ended up happening is you actually evaluate companies which are going to actually help you to scale, and they tend to do it. Like such example will be transportation system. When it comes to China, Japan, they have bullet trains. They are running without even like a minute late. I believe Japan was after a few years, they were 1 minute late and the CEO apologized, right? Versus like, no offense to anyone part of our transit system. When it comes to innovation, we say we want to be innovative, but true innovation is blocked by red tape. So that's the biggest fear I have, that we are slowly getting left behind when it comes to robotics, when it comes to AI. Even if you think about it, AI is actually born out of, or like AI is born out of University of Toronto. But we didn't monetize it. We didn't commercialize it. US and other countries ended up taking it, right? Because we are not building a support system where companies can stay and scale within our local ecosystem. That will have a long-term impact. So that's what we are trying to bridge the gap right now.
And what is one of the biggest hurdle do you see when it comes? You talk about red tape, like you talk about the hurdles. Like what is the one biggest hurdle the government can solve it?
I think they're waking up to that challenge, and they're facing on. For instance, there's a Build Ontario and Build Canada program, which is trying to address a lot of these red tape and bureaucratic processes, which is preventing from moving forward. So they understand, and they are reacting to it. And when it comes to decision making, when it comes to innovation, investment in innovation should be at risk innovations, or at risk investments we have to do. A lot of these government programs or a lot of these fundings available, they tend to be risk averse. And that opens up twofold. One, once you start monetizing, if you try to go raise money, ideally you wouldn't raise money in Canada. And if you're already successful and you have client, you don't necessarily need a lot of government support. So we are trying to do a lot more, and we're trying to be better. But I think the whole system needs to be overhauled and looked at it from an enterprise, or like from a genuine startup perspective versus the government agency approach.
It takes time, because the father of AI is in Canada.
Yes.
But as you said, like US has taken it more advantage than the people himself who founded it, right? And we hear there are some big things on the horizon, like, including a pilot with an anchor partner and discussion, like, with TELUS Health. What do this milestone means to the future of your network?
From milestone perspective, when we talk about whether it's TELUS Health or Toronto Zoo or Scarborough Health Network, it all goes back to monetization and commercialization of our startups. So what it means for us is, it's pretty much any companies we are building and incubating or supporting to build and incubate, they will have an opportunity to go to present all these anchors. And all you need is one anchor to turn around and say, this is a great product we'll take on. And the future of that company is going to become like $20-30 million company. So that's what I'm super excited about. And recently, even there are particular anchors, they lack internal incubation or like an innovative incubator program. So we're in early stages of discussing so that we will become their in-house incubator as well. That actually means you have a commercialization partner. So we are very excited about it.
These are very heavy lifting partnerships, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, what is your top piece of advice for founders who feels they are starting with limited resources?
When it comes to working with smaller budget or limited resources, it actually makes you make better decision because you don't have the runway to make mistakes. And there are ways you can tap into non-dilutive funding. For instance, bringing a co-founder, tapping into different government grants. And there is a FedDev programs which will help you build your applications much faster. And then even now with the advancement of AI and wipe coding and all of this technology available, you can actually get to prototype or even a working prototype. We can go in front of different clients and actually demo it. Um, and there's a huge shift happening in the market as well. If you think about back in days, $1 billion unicorn or like unicorn evaluated companies will have hundreds of people. Microsoft, Apples of the world. Now there are $1 billion companies with 4 or 5 people who are actually working on it. So the resources part is actually becoming very limited. Rather focus on product market fit, ideally landing a client, and then all of your resources problem will get solved. At that point, investors will want to support you. Even the purchaser or your client will want to invest back in your company. So there are innovative ways. That's one of the reasons why you should join Scarborough Innovates.
And what is the easiest way to join Scarborough Innovates?
So you can go to scarboroughinnovates.ca and also look us up on Instagram. Pretty much fill out the form or send us a message. Some of our teammates will get back to you.
Ajan, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your advice with the founders. It was a great pleasure hosting you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was Ajan Thiru, founder and CEO of Scarboro Innovates, a powerful look at how community-led innovation is turning the East End into a powerhouse for the next generation of Canadian startups. Thank you for tuning in to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more resources and check out ScarboroughInnovates.ca to see the work Ajan and his team are doing. A special thank you to our partners UPS, Google, and ADP for their ongoing commitments to empowering small businesses across Canada.